Hello, and welcome to the Old Farm Bus Podcast. This is the back of the bus session.
Hello and welcome to the Old Farm Bus Back of the Bus Sessions podcast. Today I am genuinely really buzzing because I got my mate here. You've got a road ahead of you, brother. Let's dive in with Ali West.
Whoop, 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 whoop. Round two.
Round two.
I'm back.
Tell the story. Like, we're nearly literally an exact year.
Yeah.
When did you realise that?
When I was in the car park outside.
Did you just curiosity?
I thought I'd have a look back just to see when we
was.
did the first one. And yeah, it's almost exactly a year. So as we record this, it's the 13th of October in the year of 2022. And we did the first one on the 15th of October 2021. So it's almost a year.
Exactly a year.
It's just weird how things work out, isn't it?
Is that the same jacket?
No, different jacket.
You had funky stuff on.
Yeah.
I feel like if I had your jacket on or you had my trousers on, whatever way we want to do it, we'd be pretty cool today.
Yeah.
We're pretty abstract.
It's the closest I could get to anything Mexican.
Yeah.
Which we can get into.
Mate, we will get into that. Let's talk about that year then, apart. It's not quite been apart. I came back to you, did your podcast. I've seen you around some circles.
Yeah.
At Make Ready Daniels circles in Little Eaton. Make sure you get there, guys. It's beautiful. But what sort of road and path and trajectory have you been on since then?
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Whirlwind?
Yeah, whirlwind. It's interesting because I remember when we spoke on the first episode, I just started working with a psychologist. So Serena. Yeah, Serena Simmons. Shout out to Serena. I didn't mention her name on the first one. Yeah, but I'll shout her out now because she's pretty much helped me get to where I am now. And I was working with her. I just started working with her, and she was making me realize a lot of things about myself, about my life, and more importantly, where I wanted to take my life and what I wanted from the future. And one of the things that I've always wanted to do is see the world, live in a different country, travel around, and ideally work remotely, have something that I can take anywhere where I'm not tied down to one location. And one of the big things that she made me do right at the start of our journey, this was about September last year, she said, you've got to put a deadline on it. She said, if you don't put a deadline on it, it's just going to be a pipe dream and you'll just keep going through the motions and you won't get there. So I said to her, okay, by the end of 2022, I want to be out of the UK. And she goes, there you go then. So we'll work towards making that a reality. And in a week's time, I'll be on a plane. This time in a week, I'll be up in the air on my way to Mexico. So my wife and I...
When you say that, how does it feel?
Do you know what? It's crazy because people keep asking me. And I don't know if it feels real.
Yeah.
I'm a bit like that though. Even with holidays, people are like, are you excited to go on holiday? And I'm like, yeah, I am. But I'm never really excited until I'm on the plane.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel quite real at the moment, but shit is getting real because I was trying to put my whole life into a suitcase yesterday and it wasn't working.
How big's this suitcase?
It's not that big. We've got a 25 kilo allowance.
Oh my God. Okay. That's your
And I
life,
posted it on Instagram, on social media, and my ex next door neighbor, I guess, he messaged me and he's traveled all around Central America. And he was like, what are you doing? You just need a backpack. You won't need all of that stuff. You stupid, taking a suitcase, condense it down, get rid of loads of stuff. And I was like, oh, but I like my clothes. So it's crazy. It's carnage. So yeah, I've gone from owning my own gym, running the gym, personal training people, being a little bit lost and not really knowing what I want to do, to being in a position where in a week's time, I'll be going to Mexico with a one-way ticket with my wife, Sarah. And we're going to travel around Central America initially and just work remotely. And my whole kind of career angle has shifted. And what I'm going to be primarily doing now is I guess you could call it life coaching in air quotes, even though I don't necessarily like the terminology. But that's what I want to do. I want to be working with guys primarily, helping them to discover their purpose and live a life of fulfillment, so that they can be healthier and happier.
Why don't you like the term life coach?
I don't know. I think maybe it's just
better, helping them develop into their lives.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll come up with a term.
Life
man,
coach,
by the end
mindset
of it.
coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
know
that's where I'm
exactly what you're
going,
alluding
and
to.
it's going well because I've managed to pick up a couple of clients already. The thing is, though, this is what I want to point out, is that I've never been able to go all in with this new venture and with my online stuff because I've had that gym looming over me. And when we closed the gym down, which was just 2 weeks ago now, not long ago, it was a huge weight off my shoulders and off of Sarah's shoulders as well. I knew it was going to be, because it's just weighed on us so heavy for so long. And especially since COVID, it's been a real struggle, a real challenge. And for that to be out of our life, we just feel as if the chains and the shackles have been released. And now we can really focus on living our dreams.
Flourish.
Yeah, and flourish. So I'm really excited. I can't wait. And I'm just ready to get on that plane and move forward.
I can feel it in your demeanour and your energy.
Yeah.
It's a real calmness about you, though, which I'm enjoying. I've got a best mate, Zach, who's just gone away last week to Bali and doing the same thing. Literally same thing. So I think he got a one-way ticket, and God knows how it's going to go down for him. He's quite a searcher, this man is. He's looking for stuff.
I listened to, you did a podcast with him, didn't you?
Yeah, he's a lovely guy. I liked what he said. He said, my only worry about getting out there is discovering me out there and like realising, oh, I've just changed to this nicer climate, but it's actually me in it, if you know what I mean. So he's got stuff to work on. And I love that guy, that he recognises it and is aware to it.
Yeah, awareness and understanding, yeah.
But before we do, because there's a lot of meat over here.
Yeah, I've missed loads out.
No, I know. And it's great because this is sort of a great setup for the timeline of it all. The psychologist.
Yeah.
What sort of conversations were you having when you were talking about really getting yourself handed back to you, and she was telling you a few home truths about yourself?
Yeah, I think we spoke about this on the first episode a little bit. She made me realise...
Were you quite new into it then? Was it fresh?
Yeah. I think when we recorded that episode, I'd only had 2 or 3 sessions with her. That's it.
I remember a few of those things.
Yeah.
But did it sort of develop out, and she had to sort of help you smooth through those creases?
Yeah, I think a big one of it, one of the biggest ones I think I took away and that's had the most impact, was really standing in my power and being the truest Ali, and not trying to people please or potentially be someone I'm not, or go into my shell and not stick up for myself, because that's something I've been guilty of pretty much my whole life. And I remember after a session, I had something happen with a good friend of mine, and he spoke to me in a bit of a derogatory way. And he's my best mate for a long time, best man at my wedding. And he spoke to me in a way that I didn't agree with. And old Ali would have been like, "Oh, well, I'm sorry," and try and people please him. But I just stood my ground and I just said, I don't believe it with what you just said to me. I don't agree with it. I think it's a bit disrespectful after everything that I've done for you and whatnot. And I really stood in my power and stood my ground with it. And it went for about like 2 or 3 months where, maybe 2 months where he didn't speak to me. And I was like, I'm not going to break. I'm not going to fold. And then eventually he just messaged me. And now we're getting on like a house on fire, like we always have done.
Wow.
And that showed to me...
You'd never seen that before.
Yeah, because it showed to me that I can stand up for myself and stick up for my own values and my own beliefs and get the outcome that I want, rather than folding and bending over backwards to people. So that was a big thing, standing in my power. And just getting real clarity on what I want to do, because I've known for a long time that I don't want to be in the gym arena anymore. I don't want to be a personal trainer anymore. I've known that for a while.
Really?
But you get stuck in these cycles, don't you? You go through the motions and maybe live your life on a bit of a loop because it's comfortable and it's easy. And if it's something you've always known, all I've known for the last 14 years is fitness.
Quoting Harry Potter in it, do what is right, not what is easy.
Yeah.
Dumbledore knew.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. So yeah, just going through those motions, but I knew deep down that it's not what I'm designed to do or what I'm here to do.
You think that was literally years of knowing that?
Yeah. And then she said to me, so what is it like? She said, what do you want to do? And And also she asked me, who do you want to help, more importantly, because I am a helper. I've always wanted to help people, and we spoke about this on the last episode. She said, what kind of people do you want to work with and who do you want to help? And my answer was quite funny. I said to her, I want to help me. My avatar, the people I want to work with, is me, but me 7 or 8 years ago, when I was a bit lost and I was not looking after myself and I was just meandering and I wasn't with Sarah, all of this kind of stuff. And she's like, well, if that's your avatar and that's who you want to work with, then go and work with those people because they're out there and they need your help. So that's why I honed in on guys, because I'm a guy.
Yeah.
And this demographic of people that want to discover their purpose, but they feel a bit lost. They maybe want to start their own business and become an entrepreneur, but they don't really quite know how to do it. These are the people that I want to work with. And then I started to come up with a bit of a mission statement and an impact statement that I could reel off as almost like a pitch. And that's what I want to do. So now I'm moving to Mexico. I'm going to go all in on that with my online coaching guys to help them find their purpose and live a life of fulfillment. And I say live a life of fulfillment on their terms, because it's got to be on your terms and not on anyone else's. And again, I've learned that I've got to do stuff for myself and not to please other people or maybe what society wants of me. It's what I want and what I need to do. So that's what I'm going to do. And she's helped me to really get clarity on that. I think the first few sessions maybe might have been more therapy.
Yeah.
But then after that, it was very practical. How can we make this dream and this goal a reality? And I've made it 2 months earlier than I expected, because I said December 2022 and I'm going in October 2022. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
With working with her, was there ever a clashing of heads and sort of the ego coming forward going, no, please don't do this to me? But
because it's like a relationship. It's like a relationship that you'd have with the opposite sex, with your partner.
Yeah.
You're figuring each other out. You're getting the feelers, and she's learning about me, learning my personality, learning how I can sometimes hide or not tell the not tell the truth, but maybe keep things back. So she's picking away and starting to learn my nature and who I am, and learning a lot more about me. Then she starts to understand, okay, when I say, sometimes she might say something and I completely shut down, but it's not that I'm not there. It's just my way of dealing with it. But it took her a few sessions to realize that. And then she said to me, sometimes when you're thinking heavily, you just go completely quiet, which I think for a lot of people is odd, because I'm always yapping. I'm always talking. I think that took her a while to realize that. And then she's like, I get it. You sometimes just like look like you're glazed over, but you just compartmentalizing everything. And that's how I was working. So it's that relationship, that back and forth. And I think that's what coaching or psychology or therapy or personal training, that's what it's all about. We know we've got the answers. You go and see somebody, you know that the answers are inside of you. I know the answers are inside of me, but sometimes it needs someone to dive in and help you pick them out and unpack them as well, and then make sense of them, and then more importantly, put it into action.
Because it's like when it gets told to you, it was already there. It's like this feeling that lights you up and it resonates really strongly, and you go, there you go. It was already there. Just need to press that switch.
Yeah. And she knew as well when I said, that's the person I want to work with. I want to work with me 7 years ago. I want to help them to do this. And she said, there you go. Because she says, you're just speaking from the heart. There's no head in it anymore. You're speaking from the heart. It flowed naturally, and you could see the passion in your face. And maybe like you just said, you can see a difference in me, because now I'm probably more aligned with my purpose than I've been in a long time.
Yeah. I do remember that, reflecting back to that podcast. I really enjoyed it. There was a lot of energy there, but there's this real warm kindness now. Not you weren't kind, sorry. Warm, gentle.
I was a cold-hearted bastard before.
a warm, gentle, sort of assured feeling. Like, this is what I'm doing. This is where I'm going. This is what's happening. I'm like, this guy really knows what the path ahead looks like.
Yeah.
It's carving it out for yourself, which is really impressive and really important for people to do. They let life just happen to them instead of for them. And I can feel that in you now. You're going, right, I'm going to go here. Even if that doesn't work, I've got these answers to go here and here. And it's just a self-belief that glows through.
Yeah.
So I'm loving that. How much of her work was, let's say, looking back at your past and seeing why these triggers and characters exist?
To be honest, I don't think there was a lot of that. There
Not
was
much.
probably like a couple of sessions, and that was it.
That was the sort of therapy
because she
side
pulled
of
out
it.
the big ones that maybe we spoke about on the last
we
podcast,
did.
which was that chameleon changing to be around different people. That was a big
what
one.
you called them. It was like a sledgehammer moment.
Yeah, you said that, not me. And
mate.
do you know what? I nicked that when I did a speech,
Really?
and everyone was loving it. And I said,
Oh,
I
mate.
can't take credit for it. It was my mate Mikey. I actually
I'll
said
take that, man.
Yeah, sledgehammer moments. You said that, not
we
me.
built it together, man. We built the environment where that made sense.
Yeah, so there was that one, the chameleon aspect, putting on different personas around different people. Again, just to try and fit in, maybe. That was a big one. And the other one was that not standing in my power, not sticking up for myself, because I've never liked confrontation. I've never really had fights, or if there was ever anything like that, I'd always shy away from it. So yeah, just not being violent and angry, but just standing in your truest version of yourself. Because that going into my shell and hiding, that's not true, Ali. You think it is, but it's not. It's not your real self. Your real self is you should be able to stand up for your own beliefs and stand up for what you believe in and stick up for yourself and not shy away. And for somebody that's not confrontational, that was difficult for me. And I'm still struggling, and it's still a challenge now. But now I'm aware of it, I can work on it. And that's, you mentioned it earlier, being aware of it. Awareness is key, and I've spoken about this loads of times on my podcast, on other people's podcasts. Self-awareness
Do you know what's actually going on?
Yeah, it's one of the most... It is a skill, and you can develop it. You can build it up, but people aren't aware. They're just almost like zombies or robots going through life, and they're not aware of... First off, they're not aware of what's going on in their surroundings, just around them, and then they're not even self-aware. So there's all these motions, all these patterns, conditioning, programming. They're not aware of it, yet they wonder why they act a certain way, or why, quote unquote, bad things keep happening to them. Because you've not strengthened that self-awareness. You're not aware of what's going on. And when you become aware of it, and you become more self-aware, and you develop self-awareness, then you can make the necessary changes to level up, to improve yourself and grow. And that's what it's all about. We mentioned this before, and I've mentioned it on Daniel's podcast. I believe we're here to grow and develop every single day. And if you're moving towards that and you're growing and developing, then that's amazing. That's a blessing.
And are you doing stuff like role play to some degree, to just, if you find yourself in this situation, this is a technique, or this is something you can do to
Yeah, well, you've
yourself?
not met Sarah, have you?
No.
So Sarah is... she's not the polar opposite to me, because we've got so much in common.
I met her once, but yeah.
Yeah.
When
You
I
did
came
at the
to your
gym. Yeah, you met at the gym.
yeah.
Yeah. So Sarah's like very, very strong, very self-reliant, you could say, because she's been on her own since she was 16, really, like lived away from home since she was 16. She's very, very strong. She's very impatient as well. So Sarah's a perfect person to practice this stuff on, like sticking up for myself, because she's like, she's not like hardcore, but she's like very strong and defiant.
You know what's going on.
There's no fluff with Sarah. It's just straight to the point. So it's a good opportunity for me to stand up for myself. But it's improved our relationship as well, because it makes you more of a man. Makes you standing more in that masculine energy, that masculine power, which I know Daniel speaks a lot about, and you've had Gus on your podcast that they speak a lot about. And I think for a long time in my life, I've been very much in that feminine energy, very caring, very nurturing, very protective, and not in that masculine energy, and not being like strong and powerful and sticking up for myself. So this work that I've done of standing in my power has helped my relationship with Sarah as well. Our relationship was already amazing, but it's just strengthened it and galvanized it even more through the work that I've done.
I like that word, galvanise.
I know, I had to throw that in. I've been reading the thesaurus. Thesaurus.
It's
Put my
great
teeth in.
It's used in a lot of football interviews afterwards. He came on, he galvanised the squad together. As soon as I heard that, I was like, right, go on, what is that? Okay, so you're working with her. You're finding out that your calling isn't what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's scary.
It's mad.
That's really intimidating for some people.
Yeah.
So what do you do about that? What sort of conversations are you having at home as well? Is Sarah
yeah.
in panic mode a bit?
A little bit, because I say Sarah's impatient, we're both impatient, which sometimes can be a bit of an Achilles heel. Because I'm a person, when I get my mindset on something, I want it quickly, I want it now. And sometimes if I don't get it now, I'm like, well, why haven't I got it now? And I'm quite an all or nothing person to some extent as well. If I get my mindset on something, it's all in or it's nothing. I wanted to pull the trigger earlier.
Yeah.
I said, let's just close the gym, move in with my mum, save some money, jet off. And then Sarah, grounded in reality, reeled me in a little bit. She's like, look, we've got to put this as a process. We've got to take some time, put the right steps in place and do it in a logical and maybe a systematical way. So she helped keep me grounded as well. But I was getting the same from Serena, from my psychologist as well. She said, look, you're going to get there. Don't rush it. It will happen almost when it's meant to happen, or as is, as we say.
As is.
Yeah, as is. As it should. So yeah, we was having some interesting conversations, but then recently, the last 8 weeks has been an absolute whirlwind, and we can come on to the Mexico thing and how it came about, but it's been an absolute whirlwind. But the roles have reversed. I've been a bit more cautious and be like, okay, take your time. And Sarah's like, no, we're closing the gym. We're going to like call up all the creditors and tell our business partner and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, whoa. A minute ago, you were the opposite. So it's been an interesting dynamic. But yeah, not doing what you know you're meant to be doing is a biggie. And how many people do we know that are like this? We could walk out into Ripley Town Centre now, or Nottingham or Derby or wherever, and I bet you could speak to 100 people each, and I don't know, 80% of them would be like, I don't really enjoy what I'm doing, and also I don't know what I'm meant to be doing.
It's just
more importantly,
a stone in the shoe kind of thing for them, isn't it? It's like it's
that hamster wheel,
but it's also, this is what it is now.
Yeah,
got to accept the stones
resigned
in there.
to the cards they've been dealt almost.
Yeah.
So, but you have a choice. This is what I always say, you've got a choice. So I had a choice. What do I want to do? Keep trotting along in a gym that really, I'll be honest and be open, we can go into as much detail with this, but the gym was pretty much failing. Financially, it wasn't doing very well, especially off the back of COVID. We were struggling. So I could keep plodding on, trying to keep that going, trying to keep a sinking ship afloat, you could say.
Yeah.
Training people and going through the motions and probably not giving them what they should be getting, because I can train people with my eyes closed because I've done it for so long. Personal training, 14 years of my life. I know it inside out. I know how to get people results. I know how to get people fitter, stronger, healthier, all that kind of stuff. But it wasn't lighting me up anymore. It used to. When I first was in fitness, and probably for the first, all the way up until maybe the gym, and even the first few years of the gym, I was loving it. But like the last few years, especially since everything that happened in 2020 and 2021, I've really lost the love and the mojo and the passion for it. So when I know that, and when I've realized that, then I have a choice. I can keep doing the same thing on the hamster wheel, not feeling fulfilled. Yes, it's bringing in some cash and we've got an easy life, not working too many hours, got a decent balance. Or I can stop that, move into what I'm truly aligned with, what I'm truly passionate about, take things to the next level, and really live this dream lifestyle that I've always wanted, rather than, okay, how can we make enough cash to have a 2-week holiday every quarter? And most people don't even get that, but that's what we were aiming to do, having a 2-week holiday every quarter. Now I can be in the sun all the time. I can travel when I want. I've got more flexibility. The life I want, that's what I'm moving towards. So yeah, everyone has a choice. You can keep going through the motions every day, or you can say enough's enough and rip the plaster off, or rip the band-aid off, and go after the root cause and change the root cause and move forward and live your life of your dreams.
Let's a little situation then, or scenario. If you had a young lad coming to work with you now, and he said, listen, I'm in this job, it's bringing in this money, I've got to pay rent, I've got to do all this, but it's not what I want to be doing. What sort of questions are you going to pose to this person? How do you help them to start looking at what is your purpose then?
The first question you've got to do is you've got to say, what do you want? And how many people ask themselves that? What do I want?
Not enough.
Yeah, and especially us guys, I think women probably do it more than guys, but guys, how often do we stop and say, what do I want? And not a throwaway, what do I want? Really
What
deep down. What do I actually want?
Yeah, powerful. What do they do, though, if they go, I don't know, I'm really stuck?
Well, I'd say the next step, it would be the next step anyway, is take stock of where you're at. So almost like a life audit. Where am I right now?
Yeah, okay.
What in my life do I really enjoy and I'm really happy with, and what stuff needs to go in the litter bin or the trash can?
Would you maybe look at putting this all on paper and mind mapping it? And
Exactly.
Really looking down at
Yeah.
what you've got.
I've got some ways that I do it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Won't give all your tricks in here.
We can. But taking stock, if especially if someone's really lost and they don't really know what they're doing. So taking stock of where they're at. Okay, what do you enjoy? What are you passionate about? Another thing that I like to do is almost that dream lifestyle. What do you want your dream lifestyle to look like? So they can almost start picturing it and feeling it and visualizing it. And for a lot of people, that's hard to do. But when they get into it, it's super powerful, as we know. So that's another thing. What's your dream lifestyle? What does that look like? What does that feel like? Where are you? All of that kind of stuff.
I think even if you're kind of happy in your life at the minute, it's still important to do because
because that was me. That was me. I was happy. I was happy because she said to me, Serena said to me, she's like, well, why do you want to make big changes? Because you looks like you've got a really great life. And I do. I have an amazing life. I've got an amazing wife. I lived in a really nice apartment. Yeah,
great cooking.
I'm good at cooking. Yeah, like I'm doing self-development. I've got a podcast that's doing relatively well. I'm spending time with friends, family, loved ones. So most people are like, that's amazing, and it is, and I'm super grateful. However, I know that I can always take it up another notch and another notch and another notch. And now is the right time. It wasn't now or never, but I looked at it and thought, yeah, now's the time to make a change, and now's the time to really step into what I want to be and who I want to be. And for a lot of people, that's scary. That's what puts them off, is that fear. So we've gone off tangent a little bit. But yeah, the first thing is, I'd say, what do you really want? If they don't really know, then, okay, where you're at right now, what are you passionate about? What do you love? What do you enjoy doing? What do you want your dream lifestyle to look like? But then a more important question, why? Okay. Why do you want it? Because it's all good and well saying, well, what I want is I want to have a really amazing wife, and I want to have a beautiful family, and I want to have a nice 4-bedroom detached house and a Range Rover on the drive, or whatever. Why? Yeah. Why do you want it? Because when you get clarity on the why, that's the thing that's going to keep you going forever. And that is that's when you can start to eke out someone's purpose, when you start to know the why of what they want, because the why is ultimately what leads into them to discovering what their true purpose or mission is. And that's the thing really that kept me and Sarah going in the gym for so long, because there was times when we were sat there crying, bills to pay, creditors to pay, didn't know if we was going to make ends meet, sat crying in the office, and we had to stop, take stock, almost detach and say, why are we doing it? What's the reason? And the why was always to help people, to help inspire people, and for them to live a healthier life, a longer life, a more happier life, a more joyful life. Okay, are we doing that on a day-to-day with the members and the clients that we're interacting with? Yes, we are. That's that why. That's that purpose and mission that's driving us forward. It's all, people label it up as a North Star or a guiding star, purpose, mission statement, however you want to label it. I think everyone should have this. They should all know what their mission or their purpose is. Agree. And when you look at all the most successful businesses, let's talk just solely from a financial standpoint, successfully financial businesses, they all have a mission statement. Every single one. And all of them will have it on their website. A lot of them, you'll walk into their head office and it'll be there plastered in big writing. They've all got them. Amazon, Virgin, Tesla, Sony, McDonald's, and the list goes on and on. And why do they have that? They have that because that's what drives them forward, and that's what allows them to keep going when the times get tough, because they know what the why is. And when you know what your why is,
that's a big one. The
definite of purpose, as Napoleon Hill calls it in Think and Grow Rich, which is like one of the best books ever written, and everyone should check that book out. Your definite of purpose, when you know that, that's when you can start to live your best life. Living my best life. Living your best life is when you know your purpose. You know your purpose. So yeah, I can't remember where we were going.
Mate,
but
I'll give two more things that I think in there. Beautifully said, by the way. One thing I did when I went on a course was, what do you want? And when we couldn't work out that, we looked at, well, what don't you want?
Yes.
Because that was much easier for me.
Yeah.
And one thing that I really wanted, this is before I had a business and stuff, but I've always wanted a camper van. Do you know, but like a really big, high top, nice one.
Winnebago.
Yeah, Winnebago style. But if I just put that down, that's what I want. And I think, okay, well, I've got to get a job now, like a really good job. But what I want more than that is to have my freedom. My freedom's a big thing for me.
Yeah.
So having to turn up at 6 a.m. till 6 p.m. for this job that's going to get me enough money to be able to afford that, how long am I willing to endure that before it starts breaking me down and I lose sight of that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So actually I looked at all these sort of virtues and values and moral things for myself. There was a list of like 100. And I was looking down different words thinking, I want that. So love was a big one. Like I want love in my life.
Yeah. These are your values. This is the thing I didn't want to interrupt you, but this is another thing that I help people to do and I'm helping people to do is discover what your values are.
Yeah.
And when you know your values, that's when you can build into your mission and your purpose.
That was just one thing. While we're talking about what you want, there was 2 exercises I did. And when I started looking at my values and I was like, I need freedom. Well, I can't start looking at getting this Winnebago yet until I've realised how can I implement freedom for the now while making money. And that started taking a different path. So I was like, okay, I'm willing to park that, no pun intended. But how else do we look at getting freedom in our lives? What do you want? I don't want to be waking up at 6 a.m. I hate it. I want to be waking up at 8, 9. And yeah, we've finally managed to sort of build that into something. But I had to change my position rather than just looking at this Winnebago over here.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that was really freeing. So 2 things there was looking at what you don't want, most importantly, to find out what you want, and what are your values? What is your morals, and where do you align yourself? I love the mission statement thing too. I remember the moment me and Chrissy listened to a podcast together and we're like, right, got to stop off, go and have a bit of food. Let's spend an hour working out our statements.
Yeah.
That was a beautiful moment.
Yeah, it's powerful.
Yeah.
It's really powerful.
What's yours?
Well, my mission statement has never really changed. It's always been to inspire everyone I come into contact with to live longer, healthier, happier, and more joyful lives.
Love it. Mine's probably the same. It's lighting paths, I call it.
Nice.
But I really like connecting people too, and I see that as a path lit. If I'm like, oh, you'd really like this guy here, and there's another path down there to light. But the same as when the young people come here, hopefully I'm just a beacon or a light. It's like, go and do your own little things. But it's just that being a light is always something for me.
Definitely.
Guide or a light. But okay, this is brilliant, by the way, mate. There's a lot of chunk in there for people to take away stuff from.
Yeah.
So you did all that work. You're building on yourself. You're finding out a really good idea of who you are. Then you go forward and pose, right, we've got to move away by this point.
Yeah.
You've got a fucking gym as well at the moment.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just go into the story of this too. Why don't you like that industry? Or why aren't you...
I think I'll be brutally honest with you, because there's a lot of stuff that's probably going to come out on this podcast that I've probably never spoken about or gone into detail. So it's going to be big for you and big for me and big for your audience as well. The gym, so we ended up, from when we first opened to the day we closed the door, it was exactly 5 years and 9 months, because we opened on the 30th of January 2017 and we closed the doors on the 30th of September 2022. So 5 years, 9 months. I'd say it's been the most challenging nearly 6 years of my life for so many reasons. And I'll be honest, the gym has sucked the life and love out of me and Sarah. We've really lost the passion and the love and the mojo for it simply off the back of that place, I'd say. Yeah. And I think if you do anything for so long and you realise that it's ultimately not what you're meant to be doing or want to be doing, there's got to come a breaking point for everyone, for no matter what it is. So yeah, I think that's the God's honest, brutal truth, is that place, Kinetic, just sucked the life out of us. Yeah.
Energy vampire.
Yeah. And it's interesting about energy as well, because every time we step foot in that office, we go in like high vibes, and then it's almost as if it was sucked from us because of all the trauma and the stuff that had happened in that particular small, you've been there, the small office that we had. And I think your brain and your body associates certain points with certain areas. And I think when we were going in there, we just lost all of our inspo. And a lot of people were like, why don't you ever talk about your gym? Why don't you post stuff about your gym? I never see anything on social about your gym. You've got an amazing gym, big gym, and all this. And I think it's just this fact that it sucked the life out of me, and I wasn't proud of it anymore. Yeah. And
felt that before. Even on here, we've got this space, and I love this space, and I love what we're doing with it. But it's a family-run farm, and my mum and dad have got their ideas of what they want from it, and then it does conflict with the amount of people we bring up here. I remember one week, it was about 2-3 weeks ago, we'd made quite good money in the morning for a baby party, and then I got a random message in the day, and it was somebody, and they weren't quite upfront with me. They said, oh yeah, we're having a family party, and again, good money. And I thought, oh, I made rent in a day there, winning. So I said, yeah, of course, we'll set you it up. You can have the buses and the space. And then as the day went on, it's 16-year-olds, by the way. I was like, what happened to family party? And then as the day went on a bit more, it's like, they're okay to drink and stuff, aren't they? It's like, no. And then it started coming, all these kids were just coming up the drive. And I remember my mum's face was just,
uh-oh,
this is Armageddon. The thing with me and quite chill, me and my dad are very chill guys. So I know I can handle things. Like, whatever the bad situation is, in the moment, I can deal with it. My mum's just built up this story of the worst possible situations going to occur, the worst things imaginable. And she can't turn away from it.
Yeah.
So she got to look at it, and she's arguing with everyone, going mad. And in that moment, I had to literally be a babysitter on the top of the red bus, playing FIFA, but just looking out and listening to this carnage. And they were going wild. They put like the speakers on full volume. I kept turning it off, and it was just going into bedlam and mayhem for this entirety. And then it took about 3 or 4 weeks of patching up and healing with the family there. It was horrible. And that sucking of energy there, like, I was just trying. Do you know what I mean? I thought, oh, party, but it's a family gathering, it's chill, good money, bosh, and the money goes to them.
Yeah.
I thought I was doing a good thing there. But yeah, the juice wasn't worth the squeeze in that situation. So I do know what it's like when you've got your eyes on the ball of, oh, look at what we've got, but also it's not feeding my soul though.
Yeah.
To a degree.
It was good though. This is something I want to tag on to this. Serena, my psychologist, made me really compartmentalize it, because when I stepped foot in there one day for a session in a office, and I sat down and we got talking, and I said, what a failure the gym's been. It's just a failure and all this. A bit like your mum, like thinking the worst and being very negative around it. I was like, it's just a failure. And she was like, whoa, stop. She's like, you think that's a failure? She said, look at what you've created. Look at the hundreds of people, if not thousands, that you've helped along the way. You've kept it going for 5 years. Most businesses don't even make 1 or 2 years. How can you see that as a failure? And I had to stop, and I was like, you're right. It's not a failure. And sometimes we tell ourselves these stupid stories and that it's a failure.
Yeah.
As humans, I think we can be quite negative and wired up negative, and we always think the worst. What did we say though when we walked on the bus? It's never as bad as you think.
Yes.
It's never as bad as you think.
One of the greatest bits of advice for me.
Yeah. That's something I'd tell my younger self 100%. It's never as bad as you think.
Time.
Yeah, it's never as bad as you think. You always think the worst, and it's never that bad. Even when it's the lowest of the low, it's never that bad. So that's a portion in my life these last 5.5 years, nearly 6 years, that has taught me so much. It's taught me so much about business. It's taught me so much about life lessons and just life in general. But most importantly, it's taught me so much about myself. I've learned so much about myself, and it's made me and Sarah so resilient. I know now that we can handle anything because of all the stuff that we've been through in that gym. We are super strong, super resilient, and our relationship is so strong that I truly believe that we can tackle and take on pretty much anything because of what's happened with this gym.
True, yeah. There are no failures, only lessons.
Yeah.
That's the word. Why did I struggle with failures? So much to say. There's
so many words I struggle with. I won't worry about it.
That's an easy one. Okay, so it was a bit of an energy vampire.
Yeah.
Can you psychoanalyze? Bloody hell, game over now. Psychoanalyze why it was so hard to be in that environment. What was it about that place? Do you just not like maybe the people coming in?
I think it changed from maybe what it initially set out as. And
what was that?
I always wanted to have a small space. I didn't want like a huge space. I wanted more of like a smaller, closer, more intimate environment where it was probably more geared towards private training and personal training and not so much a gym membership. I never really wanted to have a big gym. This could go on for ages, so I don't know how far you want to go into the story. But I started out with a business partner, and basically from the start, the day the doors opened, the business was doomed from the start because he took out so much financial obligations that we couldn't meet. So he took loads of stuff out on credit. We had all of these loans and all that. And I'm not completely like not guilty in this. I've got some blame to do as well because I said, don't worry, we'll be able to get loads of members. I was kind of maybe a bit cocky and arrogant and a bit egotistical to think that we'd just go out and get loads of people straight away off the cuff. So I was naive about that. I was also naive because I never looked at the finances. I just left it all to him. Big mistake. Never ever do that. I did also get warned when I was younger by my granddad. He said, never go into a partnership with someone. He said, there's two ships that you don't want to be in, a sinking ship and a partnership.
But
I didn't listen. Yeah. So I went into this business partnership with a guy that I didn't really know. And it turns out that he was not who I thought he was. He was a bit of a fraudster. So me and Sarah managed to get him out of the business at the back end of sort of 2017. But it was so bad, in such a bad financial situation.
Has there been any repercussion to him just being an absolute donut?
We can go into that if you want.
Really?
Yeah. So whether it's my place, but it's my story, so I feel like I'm obligated to share it.
As long as I'm not getting sued, I'm happy.
Yeah. Don't know how you could do. It's freedom of speech, isn't it?
Amen, brother.
Yeah. So that's one thing I want to point out. I don't want to sit here and say that I haven't got any blame in this because I have, because I started the business, and so I have got some weight on my shoulders of it. However, at the end of 2017, we got him out somehow. We managed to get him out of the business, but the business was in such a bad financial state that we actually had to liquidate the business. This is complete, like, not many people have heard this story, so I'm going into a story here that I've not really shared. So we liquidated the business.
I'm like, this is heavy.
And then we thought about bringing him back into the business, and when we started talking to people,
why?
I don't know. Yeah, good question.
Come on,
and when we
Alex.
started speaking to our accountant and also the insolvency practitioner that liquidated the first business, he said to us, why would you do that? And they both did. They were like, you're crazy if you do that. So we went through sort of like legal methods, and we said, look, we're not giving you any of the business. You're not coming back into it. And he was like, I'll see you in court and all this. Nothing ever happened because he didn't really have a leg to stand on. So we started Kinetic afresh with Sarah as the director. So I was no longer a director, and Sarah became the sole director and 100% business owner. Started navigating through 2018, and we realized very quickly that, again, we're at a financial loss. We're going to struggle to keep this going. So that's when I started tapping into my network. And this is another thing that saved me over the years, is having a strong network of people. I'm like you. I like to connect with people, meet people, bring people together. Look at all the people we've brought together just through the things we've done, and we've not even known each other that long.
That was a good moment, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I've always networked with people, and I had a really strong network, and I was like, oh shit, I need some help. So I started reaching out to local organizations, D2N2, Chamber of Commerce, all this kind of stuff. And a few people came back to me, and then one guy, I'll give him a shout out because he helped us out, Paul Edwards from D2N2 at the time. He said to us, I've got a guy that might be interested in investing in you. And we was like, this is amazing. So we got speaking to the guy, and he's like, look, I don't really want to come on board with this at the moment. And then later on in 2018, he was walking through Nottingham, and he saw that we were still going, and he came in and he said, how are you guys still going? I can't believe it. When I looked at your like numbers and stuff, I didn't think you'd be able to do it. And this is the thing, me and Sarah are like hardcore. We'll do everything in our power until it's the last moment and you can't do it anymore. So we worked hard and we grafted and we kept it going. And he said, look, I've just sold a business and I've got a big swedge of money and I want to invest in you. He said, it's nothing to do with the gym. I don't know anything about the gym. I've been a finance guy my whole life. He'd worked in banking and corporate finance and all that kind of stuff. He said, I don't care about the gym or the fitness stuff. He said, I believe in you and Sarah. And when he said that, it almost melted my heart. And I think I did start crying because that's all we wanted. We just wanted somebody that believed in us and could do it and understood. So he came on board. But unfortunately, it was in such a bad financial situation that we had to liquidate the business again.
Right, okay.
And a lot of people don't know about this. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know you could just keep liquidating and starting again. I just thought when a business closed, I thought it was like really dirty and almost like, oh, your business has failed, it's closed, it's dirty. And then when I spoke to the insolvency practitioner, he was like, you'll be surprised. He says, I'm not going to, but I could name you some names of some big companies that have probably liquidated like 10 times and started again.
That's
interesting. What? Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, we liquidated again. He came on board as a business partner, and that was at the end of 2018, and we've been operating ever since with him on board. When we got into 2019, I said to him and to Sarah, I said, we need some help because we need to shift the model back to what I wanted it originally. I said, we need to get rid of this gym membership thing because we can't compete on gym memberships. We need to go more down the private training model. So in 2019, we got a business coach, somebody that I'd known for years. He'd sold his fitness business that was in Leicestershire, and then he moved down to London, and now he solely helps coach fitness business owners, but not big, more like small gyms and small fitness businesses. Spoke to him, started working with him. He's like, you've got to get your identity back. That's the first thing he said. He says, you've got an amazing gym, an amazing space. He says, you've got no identity. He said, get your identity back first. And then he says, we just need to go all in on private training, small group and PT, because that's where your highest profit margins are. And he says, you've got 10 gyms in a quarter-mile radius of where you're at. Don't compete on gym memberships, because he says you won't be able to. You'll just get crushed, which we were getting crushed. So we did all of this. We went more down the private training route. And from May 2019 to March 2020, our financials were just on an upward trajectory. We started like doing really, really well. We was getting profitable. We was doing amazing. And then boom, COVID hit.
Oh, mate, yeah.
And it was like, oh shit, we had to close down. A lot of private training clients didn't want to go online. They preferred in person. They stopped. And then when we came out and we reopened again, so we closed, reopened, closed, reopened, closed, and then reopened. So we had like 3 lockdowns, 3 closures. So when we finally got back to it, what was April last year, wasn't it? I think when everything started to properly open up, April 2021, yeah. When we finally got out of that last lockdown, no one was coming back into the offices. So it was all hybrid working or working from home. So we lost about 50% of our database of our memberships. So then the last sort of 18 months, we started to go back on that downward slide. And it comes to that point earlier this year, especially with what we had in mind of doing our best to get out and start a new life. We said, this is the time where we need to look at offloading it and getting out, which is what we've been doing this last few months, looking at the potential of selling it and all that. Couldn't do that. So the next thing was to liquidate for a third time, the hat trick, and completely shut down the business. And that's that. And we're all, the thing I say about this is we're all at peace with it, especially me and Sarah, because we know it's the right thing to do. We've given this everything we've got for 5 years. from a financial and maybe a success point in terms of finances, it hasn't really worked out for us. But then I've got to like park the financial side of things, because that's often what a business is judged on and all that, which as it should be, you want to be profitable and all that. But then I've got to remember all those people that have set foot through our doors that we've helped and changed their life potentially.
Have you got some good anecdotal moments of that where you've worked with somebody and wow,
loads,
yeah,
like
that's
literally
spur you
changed
on for
people's
everything
life.
that
That's
you're
what's
doing?
always spurred me on.
Yeah.
Because I love helping people, and I've helped in person. I've helped hundreds of people, and then with the reach that I've had with stuff, I must have helped thousands of people to improve their well-being and their health and lose weight and all that kind of stuff. But for a long time now, probably since 2017, 2018, I've known that I don't want to do that anymore. I don't really want to be a trainer. I don't want to do fitness anymore. I'm not passionate about it. I know it inside out, but I have not got the love for it anymore.
You felt like when you reframed it and then you went on this trajectory and it was really exciting, you thought, oh, the money, and then
I forgot, I missed a part.
Okay, go on.
In 2019, I went bankrupt.
Oh, mate.
Yeah.
You've lived it, man.
Yeah, so that's a big thing. I know only my family know that. So my friends might watch this now and be like, I think a couple of friends know, but not many people know that. So yeah, I was actually made bankrupt by a creditor.
I adore someone that just owns everything.
Yeah,
I think this is amazing.
And this is what I'm saying. It's never as bad as you think, because I walked into court. I got made bankrupt. I won't say the creditor's name, but I was made bankrupt by a creditor. So you can either voluntary become bankrupt. So if you feel as if you can't pay your debts, you can you pay 800 quid, I think it is, to HMRC or the government, and then you can voluntarily become bankrupt, and that clears all of your debts.
Okay.
So people need to know about this stuff because it's not really well known. So if you want to become
blacklist,
it'll affect your credit, no doubt.
Okay.
So, but if you're really panicking about debt, it is a way out of it. You can just write it all off through bankruptcy. Yes, it will be a blemish on your credit file. It destroys your credit, but after 6 years, it comes off. Or you can get made bankrupt by a creditor. That's when they've tried to get the money, they can't get it out of you, so they do a statutory demand first, and then they do a bankruptcy order where you have to go to court. If you don't turn up to court, then it's an issue. Yeah, you get served. I got served. They knocked on my door and I got served. It was just like, you've been served, pretty much. Yeah, you've been served.
Mate, that's
bankruptcy
usually
order.
A dance thing, isn't it? Where you serve people.
Mic drop. So he's like, mic drop.
Yeah.
Here's a see in court kind of thing. So I went to court, and I'll be honest, because you think, as I said, you think liquidation, winding a business up, bankruptcy, these are all what we're classed as dirty words. It's like, oh, it's dirty. You don't want to go bankrupt and all that because of this system that we've built, and that's a whole other thing. But yeah, I was shitting myself because I've never been in trouble in my life. I've never been arrested, never been in trouble with the law, never been to court in my life, never even stepped foot in a court. I walked in and it was Crown Court in Nottingham. So I'm like, oh, this is weird. Walked in.
Who's in there with you?
So there's a judge and the solicitor from the creditors that's acting on their behalf. I walked in, crapping myself, never experienced anything like this. The judge says to me, Alistair, you're here because so-and-so have decided to declare you bankrupt. Do you have anything to say? Do you want to fight the bankruptcy? Do you want to go against it? I said, no, I'm happy to be made bankrupt. There's like, bosh, that's it, walked out. Do you know what I did? Walked to the pub, had a pint. I was like, okay, is that it? That's it.
What did it feel like after that? Because all that shit
Fine.
yourself.
Felt great.
You were just like,
I felt
my
great
God.
because, do you know what? I felt great because I'll be
How long did
honest,
it take?
I was over 100 grand. Like, it wasn't personal. Well, some of it was personal debt, but a lot of it was business debt.
Yeah.
But because I was a guarantor on it, we're getting into all legal stuff here. Some lawyers would be like, this is awesome. But yeah, so I was a personal guarantor on this particular debt, on this particular line of credit. I was a personal guarantor on it. So if they can't get the money from the business and you're a personal guarantor, they'll come after you. However, when I signed these guarantors, they knew that I didn't have any assets. I didn't own a house, I didn't own a car, etc., etc. When that happens, they look to see if they can get a payment plan off of you. But I was like, look, I'm just like barely getting by at the moment. Make me bankrupt. I don't have a choice. And when I spoke to the liquidator and stuff, he said it's a good thing to do because it'll just clear all your debt if you can deal with 6 years of having a crappy credit.
What does that do to you, having a crappy credit?
I'll come on to that in a sec.
This is brilliant stuff.
Yeah, so I went bankrupt. So I walked in there. They made me bankrupt. Walked out. Sarah was like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" I was like, yeah, I feel fine. Should we go to the pub? Went to the pub and had a drink. And I was like, is that it? And this is what I'm saying. You build up all of these stories and walls about how bad something's going to be. Something like bankruptcy. Oh my God, I'm going bankrupt. I did it. Do you know what? But what it was a catalyst for change. Because for so many years of my life, for whatever that was, how old was I in 2019? 32. So for 32 years of my life, I'd mismanaged money. Didn't really know how money worked. Didn't know anything about it. At that point, when it got that bad with the debts, I almost buried my head in the sand a little bit. That happened, and because who I am, and because I believe in growth and improving and learning the lesson and taking the lesson for something, when that happened, I remember sitting in the pub with Sarah and I said, look, this has happened, but I don't want this to happen again, so I'm going to put everything into place to make sure that I'm sound financially. When that happened, I started learning about money. So I started reading books, listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos, learning about economics, all this stuff that I'd never been taught and I didn't really know anything about. And since then, I've managed my money really well, and then gone into like investments and all of that kind of stuff, stock market, stuff I knew nothing about, managing my money a lot better now, rebuilding my credit, because bankruptcy, just destroys your credit basically. So if you go bankrupt, you'll find it very hard to get like a loan, to get a credit card, to even if you went to say PC World and wanted to do a finance plan on a MacBook, you probably wouldn't be able to. So what I had to do is look at how can I build my credit. So there's two ways that I did it. I did this thing called Lockbox, which people can look into if they've got bad credit, and you put money so much money away a month and it builds your credit back up. It's like a credit builder. And then I got a credit building credit card. So they'll only give you a very small credit allowance or credit limit. So I think I started off on about £250 or £500. Again, I never knew how to use credit cards. So once I learned how to use credit cards, I got this credit building credit card, and I said that I'm going to pay it off in full every month, because anyone that's listening to this and they don't know how to use a credit card, you should pay your credit card off in full every single month. No two ways about it. Always pay it in full. And this is how people get themselves into shitloads of debt, through credit cards, through not knowing how to use them properly. So ever since I got that credit building credit card, I've paid my credit off in full, the amount in full every single month, and slowly but surely my credit score is building back. And now in 3 years, my credit score now is higher than the average for my area. So I built it up, and now now my credit limit on my credit card has gone from £250 to £2,500.
Okay.
So I've built it up.
Law-abiding, healthy citizen.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you can do it. I've learned the hard way.
You've got to,
but it's a lesson.
I've head on to it.
Yeah, and you've got to face it. And I could, woe is me. I've got no money. I've gone bankrupt. I can't get credit now. Or you can make the changes and do something about it. And that's what I've decided to do, is to do something about it. So we'll see. But I might end up going bankrupt again with this gym situation.
You do find people sort of sell themselves off as, I'm just no good at that. I'm no good at money. But if you can be really good at the gym, for example, and you're very disciplined and you can work on that, and you know structure and regime and everything, you could take that and put that into money and into so many different things.
I think you can learn pretty much anything, and you can develop pretty much anything. Whether you'll excel at it or not is a different matter. Now we're going more into the spiritual realm, because I do believe that everyone comes here for a reason, and they've got almost like a set purpose. We talked about that movie Soul, didn't we, on the last one? So having that almost soul purpose, I do to some extent believe that. So I think Elon Musk, for example, let's use him as an example. He was destined to do what he's doing, to be the richest man in the world, to create Tesla, to create SpaceX. The list goes on and on. I think that he was there to do that. And me and you, that's not our path, and we could try until we're blue in the face. We could start up a rocket company right now, but we're never going to be to that level, because it's not really what we're almost destined to do.
Happen with your business, we wouldn't put that energy that it requires and that passion
into
it.
But there's no reason why we couldn't learn about it. We could learn about renewable energy and rockets and all of this kind of stuff. Electric cars, we could learn about it, but whether we're going to excel is a different matter. But I do think you can learn. So for me, I knew nothing about money. I always had this story in my head. I'm rubbish with numbers. That was from school because I struggled at maths. It was the subject that I really struggled. I managed to scrape through my GCSEs and get a C in maths, which I don't know how I did it. I think it was because I had a really good teacher. All my life, though, I've said, I'm no good at numbers. I'm no good at maths. Money's not my thing. I don't know how to use money. Well, I can keep saying that and keep thinking that, or I can change it. And that's what I did. And now I'm like giving advice to like clients and stuff, saying, oh, this is how to manage your money better. And I've got all these things that have happened, particularly in the last 5.5 years, that puts me in good stead for this new stuff that I'm doing of helping guys, because I've got this background in health and fitness, and health is the foundation of everything. A lot of life coaches or mindset coaches or business coaches don't have that. I've had this going bankrupt and going through all these financial woes. A lot of people have not been through that. I've ran a business for 5.5 years. I've been self-employed for 11 years. I've not had a boss for 11 years. I've got all these life experiences that now I can offload onto other people to help them. Yeah.
A plethora of experience. Mate, I completely agree with everything you said there. Let's get into, though. Okay.
But try to avoid debt at all costs.
Yeah.
Debt is bad. Debt is bad, yeah. And money is what ruins a lot of people. It ruins a lot of people.
Lovely in this. It's never as bad as you think it is. Like, I spent, I'm going to say, at least 10 years of my life not looking in my bank account, just hoping, pressing stuff, and it'll go through. And then if it doesn't, I just get this big red face and panic and have to ask somebody for something. That's not a healthy way to live. That's really unhealthy. And the moment we got to business and I start turning into it, and I'm looking at plans, and this is our food budget, and this is what we're doing here, we really lay it out. I feel free now. That freedom I was talking about at the start, I've got financial stability, and that allows me to do all these things. And that's because I just turned into my bank account. Right, Mikey, what direct debits have you got coming out? Bosh, bosh, bosh. How much do you need? How much are you getting coming in? Do you actually need that direct debit? I just looked at everything, blanked a load of things that I don't need. I've got my phone bill and Netflix, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's empowering,
just,
though, isn't it? It's giving you your power back.
And it's not my passion. Like, I'm not going to go into sort of
accountancy.
There you go. I'm never going into that line of work. But you do need to learn these things, and you need to head them on and face them. And
that's why it's brilliant, the stuff you're doing with the kids, because you're teaching them these life skills that me and you never got taught at school, and our parents parents never got taught. Yeah, it's important that something's got to change with that. But then, is it done by design? Do they want us to be in debt and struggling?
Profitable. Follow the money, find the problem.
Yeah.
So, okay, you've gone through all this life lessons and pain and struggle and fear and then freedom, and then you make a decision. This is where we've got to.
Yeah.
We're getting out of here. This is something that I've always longed for. Have you never really traveled? I mean, you go on holidays, don't you?
Yeah, I've been to some cool destinations, probably destinations that most people have not been to.
Yeah.
We've always enjoyed getting away and getting about, but just a bit hamstrung because we could never really leave the gym for anything longer than 2 weeks, really. However, we wanted to get the dream from the start of the gym was to get the gym into a position financially and successfully where we could either step away from it and get somebody in to run it for us, or to sell it. So that was always the goal. Was never to be in the gym for 10, 15, 20 years. That was never the original goal. Our goal was always to get out. The getting out has come a very different way to maybe what we envisioned it in the first place.
Interesting, because I suppose if that was the end goal, that's probably why the energy wasn't all in on that element. Do you know what I mean? That capsule. Because for me, like this place, I want to sort of sit on this for as much as we can. I just love it. Every day's different and exciting, and I can build it. There are ideas up here, like the Winnebago idea still exists, but it's all in the premise of I can come back to here and work on that. So I can put in loads of creativity and thoughts and ideas in that, but maybe somewhat having that goal over here can take away from what's happening in that moment. I don't know, that was just a thought that came to mind.
Potentially, yeah.
I don't know, just an idea. But okay, you managed to jump through that, not unscathed, but with lots of lessons.
Yeah.
And then what's the conversation like at home first with Sarah when you're saying, I'm ready now, are you ready to go away? Because we've been on these travels, we're lying in this beauty, this is where our heart lies, being away, being in the sun, we need this to be our reality. How do you have that conversation where you're like, right, it's time? Do you get a visa? What do you do?
The first thing we did was get real clarity on where we wanted to go, because
Yeah,
initially,
how'd you do that?
well,
That's a good
initially
shout.
it was Bali. We looked at
That's
Bali.
what my mate's got,
yeah,
yeah.
he said, yeah. So initially it was Bali. Reason why it was initially Bali was because we've been to Bali, so
Right.
we knew what it was like. We knew we liked the lifestyle, the people, the
nice,
climate,
innit?
yeah, the culture, all of that kind of stuff. So initially it was Bali, but then we looked into it, and at the time when we was looking, you have to be fully vaccinated to get in. And both me and Sarah have not had any of the vaccinations.
That was why he wasn't going to go, because
Yeah.
he's very not that.
Yeah, and so are we.
Yeah.
For many reasons. That eliminated Bali.
Yeah.
Next, it was, okay, right, we know we want that tropical lifestyle. We want to be by the beach. For me, that was the number one on the list. I wanted to live by the sea. I've always wanted to live by the sea. I love the beach. I love the sea. I love being in the water. I'm a Cancer. That's my star sign. So I'm a crab. Like, I need to be by the water. I'm a water sign. Double Cancer, actually, because I'm Cancer rising. We got into astrology there. Ooh. Wow. Yeah.
We got into vaccines and astrology.
Yeah, vaccines and astrology. It's all interlinked. Yeah, so that was top of the list. And same with Sarah. We're both sun worshippers. We're not really designed to be in the UK because we both love the sun. So it had to be somewhere sunny and tropical. So then we started looking at Central America and South America, because we'd always been pulled to those areas because of what's going on there. There's so much culture, there's so much history, the weather's amazing, all of that kind of stuff. So we looked at Costa Rica secondly, and was like, yeah, this looks great. Really like the look of Costa Rica. The thing that put us off about Costa Rica was we looked into everything, and apparently their internet infrastructure is not very good. And with me coaching people online and Sarah coaching people online, and also me doing the vast majority of my podcasts remotely, I need solid internet.
That's a clever thing to think of, though, and look
Yeah.
at, because I could imagine so many people would get there and be like, well, everywhere's got internet.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
So we looked
that you
into
made
that. So
sure you looked at that.
Yeah, that put us off Costa Rica because of that. People might say, well, you shouldn't, because there's plenty of digital nomads there, which there probably are, but that put us off. And also, the cost of living is, out of all the countries in Central America, Costa Rica is one of the highest for the cost of living. So the next logical place to look at was Mexico. Ticked all the boxes, really. It's got two coasts. It's got the Caribbean coast and the Pacific coast, like Costa Rica has. So there's two coasts to look at. There's thousands of miles of coastline, so we didn't have a problem with that. Climate's perfect. We like the food. Well, the language is going to be a barrier, but we'll come on to that. Solid internet infrastructure, good healthcare, and also the cost of living is cheaper than Costa Rica, cheaper than States, cheaper than Canada, cheaper than the UK. So it's about, at the moment, I think it's about £1 to 23 pesos. So you're getting like 1 to 23, which is really good. So ticked all the boxes. So then we was like, right, it's Mexico. We need to find the location in Mexico. Started looking at a lot of places, and a lot of the places that we were looking at and that kept coming up were all inland places like Mexico City, Guadalajara, Oaxaca, the actual city of Oaxaca, not the state. So they were no good. And then there's coastal ones. It was the same sort of ones coming up. It was like Tulum, Cancun, Playa del Carmen, Porto Escondido, I think it's called, and a couple of others. And then this one kept coming up, Puerto Vallarta. So, okay, this looks good. Started looking into it, ticking all the boxes, good mix of locals, expat community, tourists as well, because we didn't want to go like full into the Mexican culture and be like in a village of like, like pure Mexican. Or we didn't want to be like what you're saying, Cancun, Tulum, where it's like Instagram influencers central and it's just all tourists. So we wanted the balance. So we settled on this place, Puerto Vallarta. I was like, right, that's it. That's where we're going. So we started looking into flights, all that kind of stuff. How can we get there? And automatically in Mexico, you get a six month visa. It's a tourist visa.
Yeah.
So you automatically get that. So 6 month tourist visa, and then after that you can apply for like a digital nomad or visa or a working visa. And then after so long,
digital nomad
yeah, it's new.
visa?
Yeah.
Awesome.
So there's more and more countries picking up on it. And a digital nomad visa, I believe, in most countries is 2 years. So it's really good. Yeah. So. And there's not so many hoops that you have to jump through to get it either. So permanent residency in most countries is very, very difficult because you have to jump through so many hoops. So yeah, that's what we settled on. But this is where it gets cool. We settled on that, and then we started turning the notifications on for flights, tracking flights and all that. And it was about end of July time. And we both had a notification ping up on our phones. Flights to Puerto Vallarta, 300 and something pound return. And we was like, what the hell? Is this a sign from God or from the universe? And we was like, wow. Clicked it open, looked at one-way flights, and for both of us with 25 kilogram luggage, it was coming in at like 700 and something quid. And everything that I'd found before was like 1,000, 1,200, and none of them were direct. These were direct flights as well. Gatwick to Puerto Vallarta, one way, direct flight, 700 and something quid for both of us. Everything else was either flying into Colombia and then flying up, flying into Mexico City and then flying out, getting into flight times of like 16, 17, 18 hours. This is 11 and a half hours direct. Then there was a kicker on it. The flight at the end of October, the one we're taking next Thursday, was the last flight that TUI were doing out of the UK to Puerto Vallarta until May next year. And we was like, this is a sign. This is a sign. Have you got the cojones? Have you got the balls to pull the trigger and go and live your dreams? That's what it felt like for both of us. So we marinated on it for maybe like a few hours. And then was like, let's just do it.
Oh mate!
Pulled out the credit card that I'd built up.
Got me so excited.
to the higher credit limit. Whacked it on, and then we're like, yes. And then we're like, shit, we've got a gym. We've got to sort this out, and we've got a business partner.
Yeah.
We've got to sort this out. So then it was like, oh shit, looking into what we can do with that, and then we almost had like an ultimatum meeting with our business partner, but didn't really let on to what we were doing with him. And then on like the second and third meeting was like, look, this is what we're planning on doing. We want out. And he was like, he was cool about it, to be fair. Yeah, he wasn't.
You get it.
Yeah, I think he understood. He understood, and he could see it. Yeah, and the guy, he's in his 70s, so he's been around the block.
Yeah.
So, and he's not somebody that will like get all emotional. He just took it and just accepted it almost and understood where we were coming from. So that put us at ease, because again we went into that meeting with the same stories. Oh God, what we're gonna do, what we're gonna say. And that was another opportunity for me to stand in my power. So the first meeting, Sarah took the lead, but the second one, that was probably more where we said we're going to Mexico, I took the lead on it.
Love you, man.
I took the lead on it, and just Sarah didn't say a word, and I just did it. And it went really, really well. We was a bit worried, but it went really, really well. And then ever since that was like, 8 weeks ago, we've been putting the motions in place to either shift the gym. And we had a meeting with our mutual friend Daniel, because he spoke about potentially taking it off of us. It wasn't right for him and for us. And then we've had a few more meetings, and we couldn't meet with numbers, etc., etc. So we just decided to close it down, and everyone's at peace and at ease with it. But that was the catalyst, was these flights. That was the absolute catalyst.
How much?
700 and something quid for both. 760, I think, for both of us.
Both of you.
Yeah, for both of us. It's just like, and then we had to sort out accommodation and all that. So everything came after.
Little thing
with propellers. So that was the catalyst, was booking flights, because a lot of people have been asking us like, why Mexico? Why this? Why now? It's been in motion for us to get out of the UK since I started working with Serena, which was August last year. So it's been in the pipeline for over a year, and we set ourselves this deadline of the end of December. However, it got accelerated simply by these flights coming through. But we get these signs all the time.
This is,
we get them.
It's all around us.
Do we listen? Do we take it in, and do we listen?
Well, you can only know if you know what you're heading towards.
Exactly.
And not many people have that direction, so they don't have the signs, in essence.
And that's why I've always been a firm believer of setting goals, setting a vision for yourself, knowing your core values, knowing your purpose and your mission.
Yeah, I'll be coming and finding you in my Winnebago.
Yeah. And we'll drive around.
Alley.
Yeah, so yeah, that's why I think all of that stuff that you get told over and over again by in air quotes business gurus or successful people. But there's a reason why people talk about them, because they're super powerful. It's why the same with the more spiritual stuff like gratitude and awareness and forgiveness and all these more spiritual elements. Why do people talk about them and being present? Why do people talk about them time and time again? Because they fucking work.
Yeah.
And they're amazing.
1,000,000%.
Yeah.
Okay, really interesting.
Wow,
this part here. This is great.
Let's get a Corona.
When I went away when I was 18 for a few years, I did Australia and then South Africa, and visas was a big problem for me.
Yeah.
Got the 2 year for Australia, got the year for South Africa, but it was like touch and go. I remember in Thailand once we'd overstayed 4 days.
Oh yeah.
Mate, that was not good.
Yeah, you have to keep tabs on it for sure.
They were shitting us up
Yeah.
in Thailand, and in South Africa. I had to stay for 2 nights at like an area near Homeland, whatever. What's it called? The embassies.
Yeah.
I had to stay near the embassies, and it was just horrible. I was in there for hours getting this renewal, and I remember when I took it to the airport, and they looked at the wrong one.
Oh,
They were all like walking up to me, like gonna close in. I was like, no, turn the page.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got it. It's quite scary.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
essence. But this digital nomad lifestyle.
Yeah.
Do you know much then about the visa? If you get 2 years there, do you have to go for like a bit of a trip after and then get it renewed to go back to Mexico, or?
I don't really know beyond that. I think if you're spending that kind of time in a place, I think you're probably settled there and you want to stay there. So I think the next logical step after a 2-year visa would be permanent residency. But that's not our plan. We've not come onto that. So that's what we keep putting on social media. That we're moving to Mexico, but really we're not. We're moving to travel.
Are you looking?
So
for
we're gonna travel. Our
or?
plan is to travel for probably 2 to 3 years around the world, and then find the place that we want to settle. But I can categorically tell you now, Mikey, that it won't be in the UK.
It's not coming back here.
No, it won't be in the UK.
Mate, but how do you settle places, though? Do you know how to do that? Have you got the ideas of how you get visas? Do you have to
That's
give
what
a
the internet's
skill,
for, isn't it?
or? Yeah, I'm just really fascinated.
The information's there if you want to find it. Yeah, I mean, let's say we travel for 3 years, and we end up in, I'm just going to throw a country out there. Let's say we end up in Chile. Nice. And we love Chile, and it's amazing, and we can speak Spanish, and we love the climate, we love the people, we love the food, everything. Then all we do is, okay, how do we emigrate to Chile? What do we need to do? What hoops do we need to jump through to do it?
These people have done it.
Yeah, and people can do it because people come here all the time. Our friends live in Canada. We've got really good friends in Halifax, Nova Scotia, on the east coast of Canada. And they just wanted to get out. They wanted to move to Canada. They'd settled on Canada. They'd been there, checked it out. And they said, what do we need to do? And they did it. They don't get me wrong. They had to do a lot of paperwork and do all the stuff. And there will be entry requirements depending on the country. You might need to have a skill, or you might need to accumulate a certain number of points. I know Australia, Canada, New Zealand, I know they all work on a point system to get in. So, yeah, you might need to do that, but you cross that bridge when you get to it, don't you? I know one thing that the immigration people don't like is what they call the border run, where, so say, for example, you're in Mexico and you've got a 6-month visa and it's about to expire, then you hop over into Guatemala for like 2 days and then come back to Mexico to get another 6 months. They don't like that. I know they don't like that. I think
there's a required amount of time now, isn't there? Like, it's probably like 60 days before you can cross back to there or whatever it is, but... Yeah, it's interesting, man.
Well, and it's even interesting in Europe now because of all this Brexit stuff, because Sarah's mum and sister live in Spain, and now Spain have in the EU and the UK's not. So there's all this other stuff going on. Because they've got a place in Spain, in mainland Spain, but they've also got a place in Gibraltar. So Gibraltar's UK, but Spain isn't. Yeah. And she's been going back and forth between Gibraltar and Spain, and they've got the ANPR cameras, and it's flagged up the registration saying, oh, look, what you're doing, is this a holiday home or is it not, etc., etc. So it's all crazy now, and I think from next year, if we go to Europe, we have to have a visa to get in Europe. So from the UK, because we're out the EU now.
it's stuff beyond my remit.
Yeah,
but
yeah. I know, we're getting into like
how surveillance
geopolitics here,
really
aren't we?
interesting. Yeah, it's definitely out my remit.
So yeah, that's the plan, is to travel around, but it's all
Sarah
loose.
also doing the same stuff online.
This is a thing. I think I've got pretty much concrete clarity now on what I want to do, whereas Sarah, I think she's still finding her way, because she's a qualified personal trainer and she's obviously been helping me run the gym for the last 5.5 years. But again, I don't think her passion really lies in fitness.
Yeah.
However, she's doing this online fat loss coaching for women at the moment, and it's working really well for her. Okay. And she's good at it, very good at it, and very good at coaching people online. So I think her goal is to get that built up a little bit, get some money behind her with that, and then look at maybe the next step. Sarah loves shopping, so she spoke about setting up maybe like a drop shipping business or an accessories business. So where she's combining her passion with something that brings in monetary value.
I do love a bit of vintage shopping.
Yeah. I think she might end up doing something like that. But that's the beauty of it.
I think,
and it comes back to balance as well. I'm all for setting goals. I'm all for having a mission. I'm all for a vision setting for the future. There also has to be a bit of going with the flow. There has to be a bit of spontaneity and a bit of balance. You can't be all like regimented goal setting and I'm going to be here by 2030 and I'm going to be here by 2035. You've got to enjoy the process and go with the flow. Yeah. And just go with it and see where life takes you. And I think that's where we're moving more towards now is having that freedom and that flow.
It's like being
because when you're in the flow and when you're free, that's when the magic happens. You know that you're a creative person, and when we're too pent up on the end goal and also on material things, when we're focused solely on that, that's when we're not in that flow state, or if we're speaking in spiritual terms, being present, and that's when the magic happens. And that's what I've learned over the last, since I found spirituality and since I went all in on self-development, personal growth, which was 2015. So the last 7 years I've been working heavily on myself. That's one of the key things that I've learned is you got to be present. And it might sound airy-fairy or a bit hippie, but the more present and more grounded you are in the present moment, the more you'll enjoy life and the more you'll navigate through life with grace and ease.
Truth. When you went to Bali, did you ever go to that river where you're on the dinghies?
No. And then do you know what the funny thing is?
Yeah.
Everyone was like, you're going to Bali? Oh, super spiritual place. You're a spiritual guy. You'll love it. Do all the spiritual stuff. I didn't do any spiritual stuff there. Oh, not one spiritual thing. Well, do you know what I did? Drank cocktails and chilled in the sun.
No, this is far from spiritual. There's a river and you pull yourselves in by ropes to go to all the bars on the river.
Oh, nice. Mate, I should have done that.
Yeah. But I think it got closed down because too many Australians kept going and dying.
Oh, yeah.
Because they get too drunk.
Aussies are crazy,
aren't they? They're just wild when they're out there.
No respect to the Aussies, but they're mad.
It's their Magaluf, though, so the Aussies all go over.
I think they're more hardcore than Brits, though, don't you?
Do you know?
Yeah, they are. They're crazy.
But it's not fun nuts for me. I went to a party in Australia once. It was in like a proper backyard area, and they were hitting each other with glass bottles. That was their fun. They were like, "Go on, mate, hit it!" Smashed his head. He's bleeding. He's like, "Yeah, go on, mate." And then they're coming at me and my mate Jagger, and I'm like, "We don't play that game back home. We banter. We'll have a laugh and maybe
ours is words there, it's physical
tackle now and then, but I'm not smashing a bottle over my head for a bit of fun."
That's hardcore.
I don't know if that's just too
Shout
crazy
out to the Aussies.
Yeah. You fucking idiots. Sorry. Now, you're looking at going out here to this area.
Yeah.
Are you going to a backpacking or like a backpackers, or have you got a nice little set up area when you get there?
We've got an Airbnb to start with.
Got a nice Airbnb.
Yeah, just for a month. Yeah, so that's how we're starting.
What's it look? Is it really close to the sea?
You know what? I'm a bit nervous about it because
20 quid.
We've booked it. It's relatively cheap for that area. It's in an amazing location, 2 blocks from the beach.
Yeah.
There's some decent photos of it. It looks okay. Oh. But the worrying part is there's no reviews on it, and everything from now until 2024 is booked out.
Oh, mate.
So my mate, Gus said to me last night when I told him, he said, that's a scam. It's a scam. It's a scam. I was like, how can it be a scam? It's on Airbnb. So I'm hoping it's not a scam, but I don't know if you know this, and this is a little one for your listeners as well. Airbnb brought in loads of new cool features and regulations in July this year. So now the person doing the booking is more covered than the person whose property it is.
That makes sense. Okay.
Which is good.
Yeah.
So if I get there and it doesn't work out for whatever reason, or it's not what it says it is, you can literally direct message or reach out to Airbnb, and then they'll put you in an alternative Airbnb immediately, so you're protected and covered.
That's cool.
Which they didn't have before, so it's pretty good. So I'm not worried because it's all been done through the. It's not like I've paid some Mexican lady cash in hand. No. It's all done
this
through
is good
the.
Advice. It's go legit sometimes.
Yeah. So that's that. That's just for the first month, and as I said, keeping it in the flow and going with the flow. Beyond that, we don't know. I think the plan is to travel around Mexico a bit, which might be done either via hostels or via Airbnb. And at the moment, I've said I wanted a backpack, but we're not backpacking, so we've got like suitcases. Sarah's like, you're never going to get me with a backpack. I'm never carrying my stuff in a backpack. I'll drag it across Mexico if I have to. So Sarah's suitcase, but I think I'll take a suitcase. I don't know. Yes, I don't know.
Is she
I don't
got
know.
like
You'd have to
stereotype
ask.
in her head?
Yeah, I think so. You'd have to ask her about that. So yeah, I think my suitcase might make it to Puerto Vallarta, but then it might get dumped there, and the rest of Mexico and the rest of Central America might switch out to a backpack. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, so our plan is to maybe travel, because we've got this 6-month visa, travel around Mexico a little bit, and hopefully make it down into South America, because that's where I'm really getting the pull to, just from more of a historical and spiritual vibe. You know, Peru and places, the Amazon and places like that. That's where I'm getting a real pull to go. So hopefully make it down there. There's only one thing that's set in stone in our diary, and that's no. That's we have a wedding. Our good friend's getting married in June in Spain.
Oh wow!
Next year. So that's what 8 months away. That's set in stone. So we know we'll be back in Europe next summer, but that's the only thing that we've got in the timeline. But that works out nicely, because where our friend's getting married is literally 2 hours drive from where Sarah's mum and sister live. So we'll probably spend maybe a month, maybe 6 weeks in Spain. So the world's our oyster now.
Really
Go and
is.
do whatever we want to do. And why not? Why shouldn't we? And people don't do it, and they get nervous and like, oh, I wish I would have done that. And we're speaking to someone, the cashier at Audi yesterday, and she's like, oh, I could never do that. Well, why? You can. You've always got a choice. You can do whatever you want. And it's just a mindset, isn't it? You've got to have that mindset, and that's why mindset and working on yourself are paramount to me, and they always will be. My health, my mindset, and my spirituality are the key cornerstones of who I am and what I do. And
what I was trying to articulate, of what I was feeling from you, were all these words. Can you articulate how you're feeling now then from all this?
I feel amazing. I'm just buzzing. Yeah. I just feel
ready.
It's what I'm meant to be doing. It's like a dream. And here's another one. We didn't speak about the mushroom trip, did we?
Yeah.
Anyway, here's another one. For a long while now, I've not known the actual specifics of the location, but for about, I'd say 3 or 4 years, in my meditations, I've been visualizing this almost dream day. How I wake up, what I do in the morning, where I go in the day, all this kind of stuff. And it's almost mirroring what's about to happen in a week. And I just got this feeling, I've visualized this next bit now, is that I'm going to stand on that. I'm going to stand on that beach, and I think I'm going to break down. I think I'm going to cry, because everything that I've visualized, maybe not exactly how I visualize it, but it's pretty much going to come to fruition. And I've done this before in the past, and again, it's another word that gets chucked around, particularly in the personal growth and self-development arena, is, visualize. You've got to visualize. And I'm not really a visual person. I'm very much auditory and kinesthetic. I like to listen to stuff, and I like to do. I'm not very visual. If you did something on a whiteboard or whatever, I wouldn't really take it in. Or if you did a PowerPoint presentation, I wouldn't take it in. But if you explained it to me via talking, or you recorded it on audio, I'd lap it up. So for me, visualization is something that I really need to work on. But it's worked for me so many times. I visualized the gym. Like, I visualized what that was going to be like and how that was going to be. and it's come to fruition. So there's something in this visualization malarkey. It works. And I think that's a powerful skill that all of us have got, because when you start, and Daniel James has spoken about this a lot, but when you start putting those images and those thoughts in your head, then your body and your mind start going about how to make it a reality. So you start putting it into process. And there's another key thing to tag on the end of this is action taking.
The biggest thing,
it's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And I've listened to hundreds of hours, if not thousands of hours of podcasts. I've read over 100 books on self-development. I've done loads of stuff, been on seminars, courses, all this kind of stuff. That's the biggest one I've learned. That's my biggest takeaway from all of these books, all of these podcasts, all of these seminars. Action. Action trumps everything. Yeah. If you just do it, it trumps everything. It beats meditating, it beats going to the gym, it beats everything. Yeah. All of these positive practices, taking action's the one, because you can set this goal, you can visualize it, you can talk about it till you're blue in the face, but unless you start actioning it and taking it to where it wants to be and doing it, you're not gonna achieve it. And that's why I love say what you want about Nike. That's why their slogan is one of the best. Just do it, because it does what it says on the tin. Just do it.
There's that guy Shia LaBeouf just screaming. Have you seen that?
Yeah,
one?
I've posted it on my Instagram.
I do love
do
that.
Do it. Just
genuinely
do
love
it. Yeah, because you take action, and we worry, we build up these stories, and we also have the fear and the procrastination and all of this stuff. But you always feel better if you anyone listening to this or watching this, if you just think about a time when you maybe was worried or you wasn't quite sure if it was going to work out, but you actually took action. How did you feel? You've probably felt better. You always feel better when you do something. It's like that to-do list. When you tick something off of it, you're like, oh shit, I feel great. I feel accomplished because you took action.
I suppose
people struggle with taking action, don't they?
The two thoughts I have there, and it's not really even devil's advocate, but just things that to think about, is A, expectation. So when you've got all this, how it actually feels and what happens to you. And that thing you were talking about earlier where you miss the dance as well a lot of the time, because you've got this visualization and thing in your mind, and then, you're actioning stuff, but you're not there because you're waiting for it to be here.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? So, there's this sort
of... It has
to
be aligned, that's the thing. Some people call it inspired action, don't they? So if you look at the universal laws stuff and the stuff that Bob Proctor talks a lot about, he talks about inspired action, but I think you could label it up as aligned action. If your action's aligned with whatever that end goal is or that vision is, then that's good. But a lot of people do action on stuff that's not going to move them forward towards the end goal. So a prime one is people like dicking about with social media or their emails. Is that really aligned with where you want to be and what you want to do? It's probably not. So can you part that or leave it, or even better, delegate it to someone else that can deal with it, who wants to deal with it? And then you can spend more time on the aligned or the inspired action. So I think the key takeaway is take action first and foremost, but make sure that action is aligned action or inspired action, whatever you want to call it, because then no matter what, the action that you're taking is moving you towards where you want to be. But just to reiterate, don't get obsessed with that end goal. Like this is what you're getting at, and what I also want to get at is don't get obsessed with that end goal, because when you get to it, it better have been worth it. And that's why, again, it's cheesy. Enjoy the process, but it's so true. Enjoy the journey, enjoy the process. And that brings us back to what I said earlier, being in the moment, because when you're in the moment and you're enjoying what you're doing, enjoying the process, even when it gets hard, even when you go bankrupt or feel like your life wants to end, that's part of it. That's part of the journey, and enjoy it and embrace it. Don't get obsessed with that end goal, because I've done that before. I've been like, right, when we achieve X, everything will be all right. And 9 times out of 10, it isn't.
Example of that, isn't it?
Yeah. And also when we took our business partner on, we said, when he comes on board with us, everything's going to be all right. Yeah. And we did it. And I remember we sat there and we signed all of the legal kind of stuff. And we sat there and me and Sarah said, don't feel any different. So that's why you shouldn't place all of your self-worth and all of everything that you've got on one kind of external outcome.
Actually, that is the film Soul all in a nutshell, isn't it? Yeah. Do you know what, guys? Just watch Soul. Mate,
you just ruined my whole guest appearance.
No, mate, everything you've said today, there's so much to take out of there. There's so many chunks and beautiful things to do. Are you going to keep on podcasting while you're out there as well?
Yeah, that's another thing. I'm going to shift tact with that, because it's primarily been about holistic health and holistic well-being. That's the podcast for the last 4 years. It's just been that. So I'm going to make it more aligned to what I'm going to do. So there'll be a bit of a rebrand. I've got a graphic designer working on branding and all that kind of stuff as well. So I think realistically the podcast will change name and change direction probably the beginning of next year, probably Q1, once I've a bit more settled and done a bit of moving about. We might not move about. We might end up being in Puerto Vallarta for 3 months. I don't know. That's all kind of just there at the moment. So yeah, the podcast is going to keep going. I want to do more public speaking, like you go into schools, but I want to do more on the stage type speaking. I did an amazing event up in Manchester a few weeks ago, the Mind Body Spirit Festival up in Manchester. It was a really, really well attended event in a big venue, and I had an audience of about 75, 80 people watching my talk, bearing in mind that there was a lot of speakers on. I was in the midday slot as well, so it might have been a tricky slot with people having lunch and whatnot, but I had a good turnout, and I had people following me on Instagram and coming back to me and collaring me at the end saying that they loved it. So I'm really passionate about public speaking and podcasting, so I'm going to continue to keep pushing that forward and do the coaching as well, and just really step into what I want to be doing. And yeah, that's where I want to take it.
So
and the other thing the big thing was the mushroom trip as well. I don't know if you want to talk about that, but I won't go into it in too much detail, but is this illegal? I grew my own mushrooms anyway, magic mushrooms. It's probably illegal. So
mate, you're out.
Yeah, they're gone now. They're gone. Yeah, so I grew some magic mushrooms from scratch with my wife. They took ages, but it was worth it because we put the love and the soul into them. And you might have done these. It was Golden Teachers. That's the strain of the magic mushroom. So we did that. I took 4.5 grams, which is what's classed as a heroic dose, right?
I think,
maybe 4, 5.
5,
yeah.
0.5 off.
Okay, 5. Is 5 a heroic dose? All right, yeah, okay. I know people that are like blasting 20 grams and stuff like that, which is bonkers.
Yeah.
So yeah, did that, and Sarah did half of what I took, so we both took a decent dose, and we did this trip together. But then I quickly realised that my trip was different to her trip because you're having a trip together, but you're both experiencing things very differently.
Whatever's going on.
But it was amazing. But I'll just really condense it down because I don't know
go for it,
what
man.
you like.
Do you know what? I've not got a set off yet.
Okay, cool. So yeah, amazing experience. It lasted probably like 6 hours. It was a good full-on trip, and I think
which isn't too overbearing though. Like
24
hours is.
Yeah.
That's where you like I'm ready yet.
Yeah,
to
let
go
me
out.
Let me out. Yeah, no. I was ready to get let out. I was saying to them, "Let me go" at the end, but yeah, they didn't want to let me go. No. I've done a few trips, and we've spoken about this, but nothing like maybe what you've done. But done a bit of LSD, done magic mushrooms, done DMT, and I think this is how a lot of people are with plant medicine and psychedelics in particular. They're searching for something, aren't they? They're searching, and I don't know, sometimes they don't even know what they're searching for, and maybe I didn't know, and I felt as if I was doing these trips and I was having amazing experiences, but I wasn't getting what I wanted, maybe what I was searching for, and I didn't really necessarily know what that was, what I was searching for. And I thought to myself, right, I'm not going to mess about anymore with like 1 and 2 grams. I'm going to take a bigger dosage with mushrooms that I've grown myself, which I know are very almost spiritual mushrooms. And when I was grinding them up before I ingested them, I said to the plant, to the mushrooms, I said, look, all I want from you is I just want you to show me what my purpose is. Show me what I'm here to do. And we've spoke heavily about purpose today. And maybe that's what I wanted. That's what I was searching from. I wanted to know what I was really here to do. And I went through this amazing trip. We had the music on. Don't get me wrong, there was dark points. It was a real roller coaster of emotions. A lot of things happened. I've written it all down. I managed to kind of write down the key moments as well. So at least I've got that on paper. And I was still, and then, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 hours into it, it kind of triggered in my mind. I was like, I asked for what my purpose is, and they haven't told me yet. Hang on, what's happening here? And then I just kind of let it go. And then we got in bed together, and Sarah's like, oh, we need to go to sleep. And I think she was coming out of it, but I was still heavily in it. And I was like, right, I'm ready now. Like, I've maybe had enough. Like, let me go kind of thing. And then it just came back into my head. I was like, what's my purpose? And I was like almost lying in bed staring at the ceiling, what's my purpose? And then it just hit me like clear, like a vision. You know, when people say they have a vision and they see it and they just, it was like I was there and I had this vision, and it said to me, I might cry here, but it said, your purpose is to have a child. Your purpose is to bring another human into this world. And it's a daughter. It wasn't even a child. It was like, you're going to have a daughter. You're going to bring a daughter into this world. And then it almost was like, and she's going to be stronger than you, and she's going to carry on what you're doing, but she'll be even braver and stronger and a better, almost like a better version of you kind of thing. And I just like started crying. And as I was doing it, Sarah was almost drifting off to sleep. And I told her, I was like, this is what I'm here to do. I'm here to bring a child into this world. And it was weird because a few months before we was going back and forth, like, do we want a kid? And we kind of came to the conclusion that we did, but we wasn't too sure about it. And if you'd have asked us a year ago, we'd have said, no, we didn't want children. And then we kind of was like, yeah, we did, but maybe it'll just happen when it will happen. And then that happened. And she just like started getting really emotional, and we was both emotional. I was like, I was sat there and I remember, and I was like, it's clear as day. It's clear as day. We're going to have a daughter. We're going to bring a child into this world. We're going to have a daughter. And I was like, just overwhelmed with emotion. I was crying so hard. And I was like, and then I started thinking about different things in my life and people in my life, and everything was so clear and I had so much clarity. And then the next day, you know, you have that kind of like afterglow and come down. I felt amazing. I just felt like I was floating through life and seeing the beauty and the detail and everything. And Sarah got so many powerful things from it as well, because a lot of stuff that came up for her was stuff with her family and stuff. And then she ended up getting on the phone we did the shrooms on the Friday, and then on the Sunday she got on the phone to her mum in Spain and like thrashed it out for like 2 hours, and they like both were crying, and she just had a massive emotional release, and it was just amazing for Sarah as it was for me. And then ever since that, we were just like, we're going to have a child. And then recently Sarah had the coil, the contraceptive, taken out.
Wow, man.
And then, so yeah, we're moving out of the UK,
you
and within the next
here,
year or two, we're planning on having a child. Yeah. So that was the biggest takeaway out of the shrooms. And I wanted to add that in because I thought it's a real important point from the last 12 months that we've spoken, is that happened. And going back to dates and this is why sometimes we spoke before about us living in like the Matrix or a simulation, but sometimes I think things are on a timeline or some kind of the specific points. And we spoke about this on the first podcast. You have these sledgehammer moments, and it was weird. The day that I had the mushrooms was it was like a day off when I went to Sedona in 2015 and I found spirituality and I had this amazing experience in Sedona. It was 7 years to the date when I ingested these shrooms, and I was like, this is so weird. And then we're here almost a year to date later. So there's something in these dates of things when they happen, but that was just such an amazing thing. And not just that part, not just finding out that I'm going to have a child, but the whole mushroom trip was amazing, and it was exactly what I'd read and heard about and what I'd been looking for. And then also it gave me a newfound respect for the medicine, because people say respect the medicine, and I'd had a few shroom trips. I'm like, do you know what? I was going around telling people they're not that bad, you know, but I went through the full spectrum of everything that they can potentially show you. I know they can show you more, but I went through everything. And the next day I said to Sarah, I was like, that's what shrooms are all about, and they are super powerful, and they can...
You're just teasing yourself on here, aren't you?
On a low dosage, yeah. So it was a mad... I went through all the time looping, the sound stuff, the seeing geometrics, the walls caving in, going out, the dark side of stuff, hearing the music very differently to how I've ever heard it before. So I went through the full spectrum of stuff, and after that I was like... yeah, shrooms are amazing. They're the right medicine for me for development.
Did you have synesthesia as well?
Say again?
Synesthesia. It's like where you can taste like green.
Oh, no, I didn't have that. No. But but since then, I've not had the pull to do them again, which is why I find really interesting about psychedelics. I've not been like, oh, yeah, let's go and smash them again. I just don't feel like that. So, and I feel I'll get the call in to maybe do mushrooms again or whatever when it's meant to happen in the right time. However, that was just an amazing experience, and I think they're super powerful, and they're maybe not for everyone. For me though, in that moment at that time in my life, they came at the right time and they showed me what they needed to show me.
You had intent in going in. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Constantly you're looking out, you're listening for stuff, you're spotting the signs, you're realizing things. And a lot of people that see them as a party drug and influence is because they're like, let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
And that can be a very confusing path for people that aren't in the best mental space. I think for some people, I've got a friend that's very content in life. He just loves existing and being. That's where he's at, how he's been raised, who he is. So he can sort of go in without the need for this intent because he's comfortable with what comes and he's experiencing it. But people that have triggers and parts of their mind that they're working out or not assured on and aware to, that's what it can bring out for you. So for those type of mindsets and people, you need to have a bit of a, what are you doing this for? What is it about yourself that you want to focus in on? And they'll tell you.
Yeah, for
sure. But that's so. What happened with Sarah then? There, were you crying and you're saying,
yeah, and there was other points earlier on in the night with that as well, where we already knew it.
The baby thing.
No. This was before that. Earlier in the trip, we already knew this stuff anyway, how the strength of our relationship basically.
Yeah.
But the mushrooms just highlighted it. They really showed that how we're connected on more than this, more than on the physical realm plane, however you want to label it. We are soulmates. We've got that deep spirit. Yeah, yin and yang. We've got that deep spiritual connection. Our love almost transcends everything. So that was another thing that really came home to us. But also those almost like masculine and feminine roles really came over through the shrooms as well. That Sarah's always said to me that she's like, you don't know how strong and powerful and how amazing you are. You really need to embrace it and step into it. She's said that to me a few times. And the shrooms were like, look, Ali, you are a warrior. You're a warrior, and you're here to not only help yourself but help loads of other people as well. And when you really step into that warrior character, that's when you're gonna really take things to the next level. So that came through, and then it came through the mothering side. I think maybe that was the start of it. That mothering nature of Sarah came through, because sometimes if you meet Sarah, you might think that she's like this hard external, and I said it earlier that that's sometimes how she comes across, but really Sarah is very nurturing and caring and very motherly and very those feminine traits. She has that, but sometimes she is like more of that masculine kind of energy. So we're almost like reverse roles. Like Sarah's sometimes more like the alpha male and I'm like the mothering one, but it needs to be the other way around to get us back into balance. So the shrooms really highlighted that as well, and really showed that to both of us. And then another big thing, and I think this is not just for me and Sarah, but this is something that a lot of people can take away. And this hit me like a sledgehammer, like a thunderbolt. It hit me really hard. It hit us both hard. It's like that we can't take on other people's pain. For so many years, both of us have absorbed family shit, friend shit, client shit, trying to be fixers, yeah, and literally almost like sucking their pain out of us and putting it into us, and we're walking around not with just our weight of stuff on us, but the weight of everyone else's stuff on us. And that came through from the mushrooms, that you can't take on anyone else's pain. It's up for them to. You can help and guide them and support them, but you can't take it on.
That?
I think that comes from knowing yourself and having the boundaries. Boundaries, and knowing yourself as well. Like know thyself. I think the more you know yourself and the more boundaries you set, then you can make sure that doesn't happen. And that's something, again, maybe I've not done in the past, is set those boundaries, but now I'm really stiff with them, even with Sarah. Like this is gonna fly, this isn't. And so they were some of the big things that came out of the shrooms. And also another thing was that there's people out there that are looking for help. That you hear this. It's a throwaway term a lot of the time. People say this throwaway term, but the more I think about it, it is a powerful term. Everyone's just doing their best.
Yeah.
And I do, after the shrooms, I didn't believe that at first. That might have been a sayings I hate Saturday.
That's a great thing to say,
If you'd have, before the shrooms, I'd have said, that's a load of bullshit. People aren't just doing the best. But I think the vast majority of people are just doing the best with what they've got and what they're equipped with. They're just doing the best. And I remember it again. I was looking out the window and I saw all the lights from the houses and the places as I was looking out of our window, because, well, we're living with my mum at the moment, but our apartment was on the second floor, so you could see quite a lot. And I saw all these lights, but the lights were almost like they were eyes looking at me like people. And I remember the message coming in that everyone's just doing their best, but they're looking for a leader. That came into me. They're just doing their best, but they're looking for a leader, and you and Sarah can be those leaders to help show them the way. And that, again, I think I got a bit emotional there, and I thought, yeah. So these powerful messages come through, and again, now I've got the messages. It's up to me to act on them, and that's what I'm hoping that I can do and step into. Yeah.
Feel.
Boom!
Mate,
life is a blessing,
isn't
it?
Beautiful. I do feel psychedelics, and as a medicine, what they do is just a control alt delete and reset everything, and you've got to piece it all back together. But I think I've heard this before, and I can't remember where, but it's like you've got a folder still, if you're this computer, of all your old bullshit, and it's for you to choose. If you go into that, you will just come that same old person again with them same old traits, but you've been refreshed on the screen. Make a new folder.
Yeah,
I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
that is what a big trip, a DMT, a level 5, whatever, can do to you. Is just refresh, reframe, build again. But just, it's important for people to be conscious of not going into that folder and dipping back in and looking at them traits. Thinking about who you want to be now. And that is what you've clearly done, because that's what's shining across today.
Yeah, it taught me a lot about technology as well, because I remember picking up my phone and I was like, this isn't real. This just doesn't feel right. My phone felt like a block of plasticine, and then I could see all the cogs working in the phone. It was like it's the cogs are spinning. And I said to Sarah, feel that, and she picked it up and she's like, whoa, what is this? So much of a disconnect, which is I think I've always felt that. I've always had this love. I've spoken to Daniel a lot about it. I've always had this love-hate relationship with technology and social media, because I'm somebody that I like to be in nature. I like the spiritual aspects of life, meditation, being grounded, being present, enjoying, embracing this beautiful planet and earth that we've got. So I've always had that little bit of disconnect from it, but there was such a strong sense of disconnect when I did the shrooms. It's like, oh, is this? However, the way that I compartmentalized it off the back of it was that the technology is a tool.
Yeah.
And this has been a game changer for me, because how many times do we get stuck in it and we're scrolling and we're comparing ourselves to others, and we're like, well, he's got an amazing life, because you see it on Instagram or social media. And it made me realize off the back of the shroom trip that the tech's a tool. So you use it as a tool, and it can be an amazing tool to help you do what you need to do and you need to accomplish. But that's all it is.
The old
it's not
post and ghost, I call it.
Yeah. Post and ghost. I love it. Yeah, so that's what I've realized now. And now I don't really get triggered by social media, and I might have in the past.
Yeah.
I just be like, well, it's a tool and there's a function behind it. And a lot of the time with social media, there's an agenda behind it.
Ownership of it again.
And you just use it how it's meant to be used, and or use it how you want to use it. And this the way you can sum this all up, I guess, is that you create your own reality. You create what you want to create, and we co-create it as well.
This is it. That literally, my 18-year-old self, that's the only phrase that got me through that hardship, was you create your reality. I remember it so vividly, and it's a friend of mine that we don't really connect anymore, but I'll always be thankful for that moment and that mentorship of, mate, it's your decision, your choice, you create it. And I was like, oh, that's a lot of power. You mean I've made all this muddle up over here? Yeah, you've done that. But I can choose what's going on up here too. Yeah. Wow. That's the beauty.
Yeah, it is.
Mate, this has been good.
It has been amazing.
I love that beforehand, where we've already had an hour probably chatting, and then I'm like, right, it's going to be max an hour and a half. Now we're past the 2-hour marker now.
Whoops.
It always will be with you, man. I love everything you're about. Very similar people.
Yeah.
I love the journey you've been on the path you're on now.
Bless you.
It's really beautiful to see, mate.
And it's only going to get better. The best is yet to come.
Today, maybe they want to go travelling themselves. Maybe they want to get out of bankruptcy or whatever it is. Lots of people listening to this point have gone, it's quite interesting. I'll give him that. So where can they find you?
Yeah, on Instagram, LinkedIn and Facebook, it's just Ali West Coach. So my name, ALIWEST, like the direction, then coach like coach. On all social, that's how people can connect with me. And send me a message because I'll reply to you. So send me a message and I'll reply. And then they can go to the website, which is www.ali-west.com. And then if they click on the coaching tab, they can reach out to me and just book a free, I call it discovery call. So book a free discovery call.
That's a cool thing.
Yeah, and that I can just chat with you for 45 minutes, find out where you're at, where you want to get to, what's holding you back. And at least, the least I'll do is point you in the right direction. And if we want to work together, we can discuss that as well. But that discovery call is no cost, no obligation, and people can jump on that. So if they just go to ali-west.com and click on the coaching tab, they can book a discovery call and pick a time that's good for them. And then the podcast currently is the Kinetic Fitness Show. So if they search that on all platforms, Kinetic is stylized, Kinetik, the Kinetic Fitness Show, they can check that out. But that's more than likely going to change, as I said, Q1 of 2023. So it'll probably just end up being the Ali West Show. But I'm sure if they whack in Spotify or YouTube, my name, Ali West or Ali West Coach, I'll probably come up anyway. So that's how people can find me, and just reach out because I'm here to help. That's what I want to do. I want to help people.
Mate, you've smashed this. It's been amazing.
Blessings.
Really
it has been a blessing. I knew it would be. That's why I reached out to you.
What a connection.
Yeah, man.
I'm going to miss you. Even though I've not seen much of you, but every time I'm with you, I'm going, why don't we see each other more?
Yeah, it's life, isn't it?
It is life,
yeah.
It really is.
But
I love it
we'll
when
always
I do.
keep in contact, yeah.
It's genuinely great. I'll do my bit. Guys, you've been a part of the Old Farm Bus, Back of the Bus Sessions podcast. I'm going to leave you on this. I always do, and I always will. Just be nice to one another, you beautiful set of buggers. That's all you got to do. Very simple. Cheers, my man.
Cheers.